Bine v-am regăsit la Povestea de seară. În ton cu magia sărbătorii de Crăciun, am ales cartea Fairy Tales for Bedtime, o colecție de basme clasice adaptate copiilor mai mari de 2 ani, fiind ideale pentru cititul înaintea somnului. Dintre titluri putem menționa Goldilocks și cei 3 ursuleți, Rapunzel, Motanul încălțat, Aladin și lampa sa magică, Scufița roșie, Hansel și Gretel, Alba ca zăpada și cei 7 pitici. Astăzi vom descoperi împreună aventurile spiridușilor care au venit în ajutorul pantofarului. There was once an old shoemaker who fell on hard times. He was so short of money he couldn't even afford to buy any more leather. All he had was a few scraps. Enough for a small pair, he decided, picking up his scissors. Snip, snip, snippity snip. Carefully, he began to cut out the pieces. By the time he finished, it was too dark to stitch them together. I'll do the rest in the morning, he told his wife, yawning. But he never got the chance. When he woke up the next day, the leather had gone. In its place was a pair of shiny new shoes, prettily stitched up and polished to perfection. Impossible, he thought, rubbing his eyes. But there were the shoes gleaming in the sunlight. Look at this, he called to his wife. Someone finished my shoes last night. Whoever it was, they've done a wonderful job, she exclaimed. They sold the shoes for a gold coin and used the money to buy more leather. Enough for 2 pairs, the shoemaker told his wife happily, reaching for his scissors. Snip, snip, snippity snip again. By the end of the day, he had cut out the pieces for 2 tall pair of boots. I'll finish them tomorrow, he said. But in the morning, there stood 2 pairs of beautiful new boots, neatly stitched with bright brass buckles, which he sold for 4 gold coins. And so it went on. Each day the shoemaker bought more leather and cut it out, and each night someone else stitched it into the most magnificent boots and shoes. Now the shoemaker's shop was filled with customers and money poured in, but he still had no idea who was helping him. So one night, he and his wife hid behind a curtain to watch. They had almost dozed off when the door creaked open. 2 ragged little men tiptoed over the threshold. Elves, breathed the shoemaker, his eyes wide with surprise. The elves climbed quietly onto the table. Their tiny fingers flashed and flew until they had stitched and polished a whole row of shiny new shoes and boots. And then they left. Poor things, sighed the shoemaker, working so hard to help us when they have nothing but rags themselves. Let's make them some new clothes in return, suggested his wife. The shoemakers nodded. That day, instead of cutting leather as usual, he made 2 tiny pairs of elf boots, while his wife sewed 2 tiny elf suits. At bedtime, they laid their gifts on the table, then hid in a corner and waited. In the middle of the night, the door creaked open again. There was a pitter-patter of tiny footsteps and a squeal of delight. Look! New clothes! The elves put them on at once. When they caught sight of themselves in the mirror, they turned cartwheels for sheer joy. They skipped all around the room singing, we look so smart in our new suits. Too smart by far for stitching boots. Then they danced out the door, still singing. The old shoemaker and his wife looked at each other and smiled. They didn't mind losing their magic helpers. Now they had plenty of money and customers and lots of ideas for new shoes. They were back in business thanks to the elves. În aceeași serie a poveștilor de citit înainte de culcare, mai găsim și Royal Fairy Tales for Bedtime, cu povești cu prințese, prinți, regine, regi și alte aventuri de la curte. Și Animal Stories for Bedtime, unde personajele principale sunt animalele îndrăgite de copii. Toate aceste cărți au coperta cartonată și semn de carte. Grafica este viu colorată, iar hârtia de o calitate superioară. Textul este adaptat copiilor peste 2 ani, fiind prescurtat. Vă dorim un Crăciun fericit în continuare alături de cei dragi și vă așteptăm cu drag la următoarea ediție.